Good Lord. Thursday. How can it be Where do the weeks go? Huh? It's just bonkers, isn't it? The weeks just go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Men's Radio Station. I'm Russ Kane. Half-term week. If you were thinking of having a quiet time, I can only assume everybody during lockdown had a kid. I just watched Netflix. Okay. 6 o'clock, Thursday, live around the world. That can only mean one thing. It is the ABC of CBD with the incomparable. He is the hunk of hemp. He is the Maharaja of marijuana. He is the Count of cannabinoids. He is Ollie Mammon.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. It's good to be back. And the weeks do fly. The weeks do disappear.
It's crazy, isn't it? Crazy,
felt like yesterday we were just here doing this.
Crazy stuff. Anyway,
how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Busy.
I'm liking the orange tint on the glasses today.
No, these it's the same glasses I always wear. I think I don't
know.
Maybe Storm Garfunkel. Nora or whatever it's called. Storm something or other.
Proper Garfunkel.
Very They're just restful. So I've done quite a few shows today. Anyway, shall we say a little hello to our sponsor, and then you can crack on. How about that as a simple plan?
I'm sure you've heard before that good quality CBD needs to be really, really expensive. This is the new view of CBD, a product created by users for users, a product at an affordable price, available everywhere, at any time, at the simple click of a button. Just CBD and MCT oil. No additives, no preservatives, and no flavor enhancers. It's a simple subscription-based service. The cleanest possible CBD delivered to your door for the lowest possible price. Your product, your rights for the lowest possible price.
Oh, come on.
What's up? I love it.
Okay, so you're well, you're good, everything's okay. That's all we need to know.
That's all we need to know. How you doing, Ross? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. No, seriously.
Good man. And by the way, yes, the kids on half term are freaking crazy. I completely agree with you that. But here's the thing. One thing you got to bear in mind. So you watch Netflix over,
rather than
over the course of lockdown. I thought it was everyone else. That's basically what happened. I mean, I know like 60 new people who have been brought into the world all because of COVID, which is pretty cool, to be honest with you.
Wow. Okay.
Nice whole classes were going to be filled in about 7 years' time. So start getting your name on those waiting lists.
Yeah, like anyway. Now.
So we've got a great guest today. We got an incredible guest. Her name is Jade Proudman. Now we're actually quite lucky because a lot of stories in this industry, they get shared over and over and over again. Now it's great bringing people onto the show. We seem to get a different angle from voices. Jade actually very rarely shares her story, and I think this is one of the first times she's sharing her story live. So very excited about that. I'm going to give my little introduction as I usually do because I spend hours writing these things, so I might as well, share it with you.
Bless. I didn't realize it.
Hours. I'm dyslexic, so therefore even to write the word "the" takes me about 6 years. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot of fun. You don't want to check the spelling mistakes here, but I can, phonetically speak it back to you.
Can I say one thing? I want to say one thing really seriously. You joke every week about being dyslexic. It is a huge issue, and we've done shows on the Daily Show about it. I never make gags about it. My business partner, Howard, the lovely Howard, is heavily dyslexic, and it is a real problem for people who are. So I never make light of it, and I count my blessings, that I'm not, because it'd be awkward as a writer if I was. So, bravo to everybody.
I wish I could write a sentence
Bravo to everybody out there who is dyslexic, who just keeps fighting on. It's a big deal, and I never underestimate it.
Turn your issue into a superpower. That's the rule. Anyway, so this week we continue to delve into the life stories and the brave journeys of some incredible people, hopefully helping to guide and educate others in their position. Our aim with this segment of the show is to share the experiences direct from the mouths of patients to the ears of other patients. Whether you are a cannabis user or not, whether you have tried cannabis medicinally or not, if you are suffering, it's so important to know that there might be another option out there for you if conventional medical options are not working. For some people, as our guests have shared, life gets to the point where it's not worth living, when a mere shadow of what life was remains, when life feels like it's not working and the pain and suffering is just too much. There might be another option for you. There still might be hope. There might be a chance. And it's quite important to listen to these stories, because whether you agree with them or not, they might be the light at the end of your tunnel, or they might be they might be the light at the end of the tunnel for someone who you know and love. And that's the whole point of this. It's not to brainwash you or change your opinions. It's to make you just see the benefit of what this amazing plant can do. As we have shown over recent weeks, our aim is to educate through transparency, sharing the journey, sharing the pain, sharing the misery, and the life-altering hope that cannabis medicine brings to so many people. Our aim on this show is also to hopefully finally get through to the hearts of cynics who may still demonize cannabis and fear cannabis, wherever they might be, because this plant really can make people's life livable again, and everyone deserves a chance at a real life. So that's it's important we know that. As Russ has stated on so many occasions, when you hear the stories of pain and suffering, it's cruel to think this is not another serious option in the doctor's toolkit. It's cruel to think that hurdles still need to be jumped to even be suggested this plant as an option. Over the last few weeks, we have been joined by some incredible guests who have opened the doors to their lives. They have shared their journeys and their experiences as patients on both the black market and within the legal system. They have shared the stories of their trauma, their pain, and how cannabis has given them some resemblance of their lives back. Sam and Claire both had cannabis thrust upon them, almost delivered by guardian angels. They didn't go looking for cannabis. Cannabis found them. And it found them when they were at their worst, when there was no other option. They both had to medicate illegally at first, but both have found the safer option within the legal medical cannabis system. Our guest today also has a story of struggle, pain, suffering, and emotion to share with you all. She has been active in the industry for some time now, but she has rarely spoken out about her experiences. However, what she has done is so much more powerful. Jade Proudman has used her experiences to help others dealing with their own struggles, nurturing others who have felt lost and overwhelmed in this sometimes confusing market, and guiding others to the answers they have been crying out for and searching for. Jade Proudman is a fellow educator, a proud advocate, an industry ambassador, and a true warrior for so many people out there. We're lucky to have people like Jade in our industry. We're lucky to have people like Jade to turn to. And we're lucky to have people like Jade to learn from. She really cares about the people. She cares about the consumer. She cares about the patient at the end of every single product. And she has literally helped thousands of people. Let's welcome on our guest. Thank you so much for being here, Jade. And thank you so much for giving up your valuable time to share your story with us. I'm so honored to have you here. I really am.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ollie. It's lovely to be here. Nice to meet you both.
I think he's a bit overwhelmed. To be honest with you, I've never heard him like this.
That was quite the introduction. Thank you.
Wow, wowza.
I thought you deserved a good one.
Oh, yeah, bless you.
That was up
I
there.
think you deserved a good one, but also it's very easy. It's easy to have this tone when I know what you've done. And it's easy to have this tone. You know, we spoke yesterday for like an hour and a half, and in that hour and a half, I put down the phone and I was just like blown away, because you really are an incredible person. You need to be acknowledged for the things you do. There's only so much you can, operate without, a little pat on the back or a little, well done. So, I mean, on behalf of everyone who you've ever helped and anyone who you're going to help as a patient, like people like you are, for me, all that really matters in this industry, because the people are all that matters in this industry. Without the patients, there's no industry. Without the patients, there's just a whole bunch of people trying to sell a product that no one wants. So you need the people at the end of it. And at the end of the day, to meet someone who actually cares so much, and for the fact that I talk to everyone, I meet everyone. We haven't really connected over the last 6 years. So even for the fact that we haven't really connected, our paths haven't crossed. I know you've had your head down. You've been doing something super awesome for people. You deserve a little bit of praise. You deserve a little bit of acknowledgement. So you got it. Now I'm going to rip you to shreds for the rest of the show. So it's all good. I've got all the kindness out. No, basically, thank you so much for everything you've done. And, I know that there are hundreds of other little...
Ollie, don't mention the pink dungarees.
Are they pink?
Yeah.
I'm just
No, I
joking.
said
I'm not
don't mention it.
colourblind.
What did I say?
I'm dyslexic. I'm not. There's got to be a dyslexia for color, right?
Yeah,
Colourblind.
Colourblind, you fool. We just think it's called. You haven't just invented.
I'm going. All right. It's been a great show. Okay, I'll
It's
see
been
you all
great.
next week.
Thanks a
No,
lot.
listen, the whole point of
Anyway,
the show
Jade,
was
let's talk about cooking.
let's talk about Jade. So first of all, let's talk about you. What do you suffer from? What are your conditions? When were you diagnosed? What age? When was this? Give us a little bit of a background about your story, how you became to, like the story before cannabis entered your life.
Okay, cool. So it goes back to when I was a teenager. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and it's just, I was about 14, 15, and it interrupted my school life, lots of things like that. And you just learn to adapt, and you learn to sort of pull yourself away from, the society, if you like, because, the friends drop off, calling round to see you, that sort of thing. So, I just learned to adapt and sort of push forward with things and dealt with things the best I could. And then, I don't know, it was really kind of, when I reached 30, I seemed to collect a new diagnosis with each birthday, which was quite frustrating.
But that happens with fibromyalgia patients. They seem to, especially ones who are diagnosed young, because fibromyalgia is a weird one. It's not a brain disease. It's not a body disease. It's somewhere in the middle. So it's somewhere between your neurological pathways and your nerve endings. There's something going wrong. It's not psychological. It's not physical, but there is a lot of there is physical degradation and there is mental stress. So it's one of those ailments which seems to kind of encapsulate so many other problems, and especially people who are diagnosed young with fibromyalgia. How old did you say you were when you were diagnosed?
14.
Yeah, so you were diagnosed really young, and
such a pivotal age for anybody. But if I may say, especially for girls, 14. Wow, that's rough.
Yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah, there was no holidays to muggle off for me with the girls. I was at home in bed watching TV. But so as I sort of got older, I think I was about 30. I really started to have a lot of gastrointestinal issues. I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, and it really was just such a huge problem in that, it's a TMI conversation, but we all, can't go to the bathroom, you feel bloated, you feel sluggish, it impacts on your fatigue. And then the year after that, I was diagnosed with spinal myoclonus, which is in the epilepsy family, and along with restless leg syndrome, and it was bloody awful. And I found myself in a situation whereby I had to rely entirely upon the input of medical practitioners to assist me in functioning. And I had a bit of a tantrum with myself about it, just got on with it and thought, okay, that's fine. I've just got to, deal with it. My mum's got it. I've inherited it down the female line of the family. And then things started to sort of spiral. It was becoming more difficult to manage my gastrointestinal issues. I was feeling a little bit under the weather. And I decided on this particular day that I was not going to go to work. I wanted to have a bath. I wanted to go to bed. I got to the top of the stairs and I collapsed. And my husband threw me in the car. We went to the hospital. By the time we got to the hospital, the accident emergency was full. There was actually no seats in the waiting area. And I was laid on the floor screaming. And I'm from a small town. There was people in there that I knew. And they were trying to strap me onto heart monitors and stuff. And I was told after the event, I was quite close to having a heart attack because the stress of the pain was getting so significant. I managed to get rushed into X-ray where they discovered that, and again, TMI, but from stomach exit all the way through, my colon was completely compacted and my bowel had died. And I had to try and figure out, what they were going to do with me. So,
can I ask you a question, Jade?
Yes,
Sorry to
darling,
interrupt.
Yes. It's okay.
Do they know why? Was it like based on the pharmaceuticals you were taking for your fibromyalgia, or like so it was just another element that your body just picked up. It was just your colon and your bowel just shutting down.
It was
30 years old.
it was referred to as slow transit. So slow transit has always been a part of my anatomy. It can be related to fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue because your metabolism is quite slow and quite sluggish. But in this instance, it had just decided to go, ugh, can't take this anymore, stop working, boom. So I was rushed into surgery, and the surgery that they gave me was a temporary ileostomy. So there I am, 32 years old, with a stoma, and quite literally just sat in pure shock of what the last 24 hours or so had given me. But I was feeling really unwell. And they were like, well, you're going to feel unwell. You've just had major surgery. But then I started to feel sick. And again, TMI warning to people listening. I was discharged from the hospital, and they told me to go home and to just calm down and focus, and that, I'd get a nurse coming out to see me. And I was like, I don't feel well enough to go home. And they were like, it's fine. Don't be scared. Just go home. I got home, started to feel really uncomfortable, went to lay in my bed, and the following morning around 4 a.m., my youngest, who was about 3 or 4 at the time, walked in to find me vomiting what you would expect to see coming out of the stoma. And it would transpire that during the surgery, the stoma was accidentally sewn shut. So the only way that things could come out was up and
the
out.
other way. It has to come out one way, and it came out.
Oh,
you
my
poor girl.
God.
You poor girl.
Jesus.
So I was blue lighted back to the hospital. The children thought I was dead. They went to the neighbours.
How old were your kids at this time?
So we're talking 3, 7, 15, something like that.
So like the 15-year-old knows, like the 15-year-old knows enough to know for that this is not right, and the 3-year-olds generally seeing 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds seeing mama in pain is generally trauma anyway. Your poor kids, of course poor you, like you're going through it, but your poor kids having to, like. Oh God, I'm so sorry, but carry on. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's fine, darling. So I was blue lighted to the hospital and put in intensive ops ward, and for 3 days, every 3 hours and 15 minutes I would vomit a litre of feces and my body started to shut down. So my family were called to come and say their farewells because things weren't looking great. I ended up then back in surgery, and they managed to right the wrong, if you like. And that sort of kick-started what I refer to as a sequence of unfortunate events. Because I'd had such a long period of time of 3 days of toxins in your body like that, the effects were significant. My gallbladder, for instance, went septic and fused to my liver. I had a further surgery. I was cut from my rib cage down to my pelvis, and they ended up removing my gallbladder, my entire colon, and reconnecting my small bowel. So I've been left with a permanent disability, but I'm here, which is the most important part.
Warrior.
So,
you're a warrior.
Can I say something before I faint, by the way? I have nothing to do with the guests, and it's all down to Ollie finding you extraordinary, amazing people, as I've just tweeted. That's what I was doing. But in life, Jade, forgive me for saying this,
it's okay,
but I have to say it to you. You meet somebody and you go, I had to take the car in for an MOT, and it's like, oh, shut up. Shut the hell up. Well,
and there's this guy driving at 3 miles an hour in front of me. How dare he? Do you know what I mean? That's not problems.
And then Ollie finds these extraordinary people of which you are in the forefront, and other guests who've come before you. And I stand here watching and listening in awe, because you're not just your personality, but your whole zest for life, where other people would have just said, sod this. I'm out. I'm done. I get a paper, Jade. I get a paper cut. It's the end of the world. God, I'm opening an envelope. I get a paper cut. Oh my God, this is it. Blue light me somewhere. And what has only happened to you? I mean, that's why I've been so quiet. But I just want to say your fortitude, your attitude. Wow.
Thank you,
I'm
darling.
going to shut up now, but amazing, just amazing.
So when that had happened, and I felt like I was coming out of the other side. I spent the year of sort of 2015 sort of heavily medicated, but trying to function within limits of, trying to be social, trying to do things, and not achieving much, but at least achieving. And I tried to go back to work. I ended up having to take redundancy because I'd been off work for such a long period of time. I was then informed that I had post-operative hernias, and that because it was considered a cosmetic procedure, I couldn't have it done on the NHS. And I was like, well, what happens if my small bowel gets trapped in the stomach? And they said, well, you've got 45 minutes to get into theatre or you're dead. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen though, is it? So I decided to take it upon myself I didn't have any money at this time. I was made redundant. I rang a private doctor and said, would you give me an MOT once over? Because if I die, I want my family to be able to pursue this in my absence, because I believe I'm entitled to this surgery. And I won't name him because I haven't got his permission, but I went to see him in a state of pure distress, mother of 3 children, like preparing for my inevitable demise. And he said, you haven't just got 1 post-operative hernia, Jade, you've got 6. This is not good. You've got, my abdominal wall was basically disintegrating because I've been cut open so many times. So he said to me, look, I will pay for the surgery. You just need to pay for the hospital appointment. Let's get you booked in and let's sort you out. And he did it. An angel on earth. It's just
That's so beautiful.
He literally changed my
I kind
life.
of wish we could mention this dude's name. I kind of want to. I know we're not allowed to, but whoever you are, mystery doctor, blessings on your head.
Exactly. And again, it's like, when you think, in those times of need, people, sometimes you'll always find the ones that want to help, and that's what I try to.
And
bring
you also find the people who head for the. You also find the people who want to head for the hills.
Yes, of course, true.
Every time, believe me. Yeah.
So I had the reconstructive surgery done, and I was excited that I felt like I felt safe. I'd felt so vulnerable for so long. And then we'd got to January 2016, and I woke up one morning and I couldn't move my legs or my feet. And I was so confused by what was going on. And it was a huge decline at warp speed. I ended up housebound. My husband was cutting up my food. I'd lost the control of my hands. I couldn't hold a cup. It was awful. And I just didn't understand what was happening. And I got a diagnosis of reactive arthritis. Basically, the chronic fatigue, the fibromyalgia had gone. We've come into play now. So, that just completely took me over. And at which point I'd just had enough. And my husband, who was dispensing my medication, I said to him, would you over dispense, please, this medication, and just please let me go in my sleep, because I don't want to be here anymore. I'm a useless mother. I'm a drain on everybody's resources. You're a handsome guy. You'll find someone that you can go out there and have fun with. But
I'm not going to get through this show. Jade, I'm literally dying here. I'm actually welling up.
I'm literally dying. It hasn't happened yet. We've managed to stay strong over 65 episodes. We've heard
I've never had this.
We've heard some real messed up stories.
Jade, I'm actually. Christ, this is what I do for a living. I'm actually up here.
It was really rubbish. It was
well done, Jade.
Really
you win. You made Russ cry. I hope you're proud of yourself. Okay.
No one.
I want a badge. Thank you.
I'll give you a badge.
But no, in all seriousness, I was just.
Can I delve in for a second? I'm so sorry.
Because
this is something so close to. Ollie, forgive me for bringing in the rest of Men's Radio Station, but it's very close to what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get what you were saying, and you know what? I'd have done the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been with you. Look, please let me check out. Let me just check out. This is enough's enough now.
Mm-hmm.
What
I was actually
was
always
the
raised by
effect?
my dad saying the same thing. If he ever gets to a point
Well,
where
my,
he looks at me and says, "End it," he was like, "You've
yeah.
got to end it. You know, you've just
You know
got
what
to
my
do
dad
it."
said? My dad, who died 22 years ago, and he said, Russell, he said, just get a rifle. That's what he meant it. He wanted to check out. He said, just
Go out
shoot
like
one.
Old Yeller, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That is
Here's the
he's
thing.
going out
Here's-
like
yeah, take
Kojo,
him out.
right?
Take him out to Sandown Park or Kempton Park, and just shoot him by the first hurdle. What was your husband? And don't answer if you don't want to. But you've said this to your husband. He is dying inside. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, there's nothing worse than watching someone you love suffer. What did he say to you? Am I allowed to ask? I know it's very intrusive. It's a very intrusive question. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. His answer, well, he was quiet for a while and he just looked at me and he just went, "No, I shan't. But I want you to watch this documentary." And it was the CNN documentary by Sanjay Gupta, which introduced the Stanley Brothers and Charlotte's Web. So I watched this documentary of this little girl who was benefiting from cannabinoid therapy, and I just had this moment of, I wonder if that would work for me. And Les was like, I want you to get some, I want you to try it, and if it doesn't work, we'll rediscuss this topic, but not until such a time.
So Jay, just quickly, so this is
Yeah.
the turning point. Before
Yeah.
this moment of time, had cannabis ever entered your life?
No, so my experience of cannabis wasn't positive. I think that I was about 15. I tried it and I spewed everywhere in somebody's house and I felt quite embarrassed. And I was like, that's awful. I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
Didn't really have an interest in ever trying cannabis because I was one of the disbelievers of, drugs are bad, okay? You don't go near those sorts of things. That was me. So I was, quite disinterested in it actually, and just thought it was all a bit of nonsense. So I agreed, and I sent out a tweet to Joel Stanley one evening when I'd had quite a lot of medication and I was probably off my face, but I sent this tweet regardless. And he got straight back to me and said, "What do you need?"
And Joel
Yeah, I
Stanley
just wanted
is
to.
everybody.
I wanted to fill Russ in on this. So basically,
Okay.
So the start of this whole CBD revolution, okay, really kind of started in Colorado about 7-8 years ago. Okay, there was two farmers or three farmers, a group of brothers who were farmers. They grew a crop, and their crop was an extreme disappointment for any cannabis enthusiast who wanted to get high. But what actually ended up happening is they ended up formulating this product, and this was like the first medication for epileptic children. Now, do you remember maybe, I want to say like a year ago, we had someone on called Christopher Stubbs who told us about the story about how like his entry into the market was working with a girl called Charlotte Fiji. It's the same story. It's all kind of linked. So you have a lot of these, you call it like they are the people who started this revolution. They are the people who started this route of education. Dr. Sanjay Gupta is like the medical lead for CNN. He did an incredible documentary on it, which basically opened everyone's eyes around the world to the potential benefits of this non-psychotropic, non-get-you-high, non-invasive cannabinoid called CBD. And they were kind of like you called it like the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob of the CBD industry as we know it today. And this whole idea of patients first and building something for a purpose kind of started with them. So they really are the El Mahicos of our industry. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there, but it is kind of linked to other things.
People watching all over the world, it's important that we.
That was a pretty logical, accurate description, right?
Yep.
And still to this day, they're incredible people. But go on, Jade. Carry on.
No, that's fine.
You're amazing.
So I sent this tweet. I got a response, and Joel was very much, "What do you need? How can I help?" And I just said, "Well, these are my circumstances. I don't really want to be here, but my husband wants me to try this." And they sent me a care package in the post, and I thought that was very kind of them. And again, a bit like the doctor that stepped in to help me when I was really thinking that I was going to fall off this mortal coil. here was somebody that was willing to help in a time of need. So these products arrived and I tried them, and 48 hours later I sat and had a conversation with my children that I hadn't had the depth of that kind of conversation in maybe 2 years.
Good God.
I held a cup. I remember holding my own cup of tea and just being ecstatic with it, because tea is my favorite drink of life, and I've had to be drinking it through a straw and just things like that. You know, being able to not have to shout someone to help me get out of the bathroom when you need to go. You know, those sorts of things which are empowering, because you've had to be dependent on somebody for every single bloody thing that you've had to do. So I had this moment of, geez, this is incredible. I was prepared to overdose myself last week, and this week it's like my eyeballs have been cleaned. I'm seeing things very differently. People need to know about this. This is miraculous. So I set up my business, Savage Cabbage, that week whilst I was in recovery, because I wanted to talk to people about my experiences, because I wanted to prevent anybody else thinking that they had no other option but to just do whatever to not be here anymore. And so I just started chatting in Facebook groups online, and you know, I had to borrow £500 from my dad, because I was in quite a difficult financial situation, having lost my job through ill health, etc. And that £500 is what I used to buy my first lot of inventory for my business. And after 4 weeks, my husband, he worked part-time somewhere, and he had to give that up because the business was too busy for me to manage by myself, because I was awake in like 2-hour slots throughout the day for about 3 months, and then it built up more. It took me about 7 months really to be able to be awake more than sort of 6 hours constantly to be able to do things. So there's me and my husband. Then it sort of grew more. So I brought in my mum and my dad. And we've been facilitating growth of our community for 6 years in June. And we've looked after people in the UK, but in 44 other countries as well, because then it's all spread by word of mouth. We've never paid for marketing or advertising or anything like that. But we have a very intimate relationship with our customers, and we look after them, and we want to wrap our arms around people and help educate them on the benefits of cannabinoid wellness.
What is quite beautiful is that, so you ever seen the film Pay It Forward?
No, I haven't.
So the film called Pay It Forward is from like the like late 90s, early 2000s. It's actually with the kid from the Sixth Sense, and with what's his name? Kaiser Soze, who plays Kevin Spacey. Okay, so basically, like it's with them, and you've got this kid who, for a school project, designs this concept, which is paying it forward. So you help 3 people, and then they help 3 people, and the exponential growth of that is astronomical. Now, you got helped by the Stanley brothers, and you got helped by the doctor, and you know, you got kept alive by your husband, who, if he was a weaker man, would have administered the medication to you. And God bless him for being so strong, because those 9,000 people you've helped, like, you wouldn't have been, you understand, like, so you had those 3 interactions, and basically you've gone and exponentially just helped thousands more. And it's quite a beautiful concept, you know, when you stretch out an arm and you give someone a hand and you help someone, you actually go out of your way to bring a positive energy into someone's life, and you, whether it's spoken about or not, and that person takes that energy and pays it forward. I mean, that's how real impact is created. That's how people make a difference into other people's actual lives. You might not be changing the bigger picture as we all see it, but the personal picture, the view from within, it's actually incredible. It's like really incredible. And I just want to, it's just amazing. I don't know why.
And I have to ask, why Savage Cabbage?
Well, it's a good question. I never imagined that, you know, I'm the accidental entrepreneur, never imagined that my business would be known globally or anything like that. And my husband and I, we were just having a laugh and a giggle. And we sort of were trying to sort of put a play on the devil's lettuce, because we thought that was quite funny, because cannabis is referred to as that.
Oh, okay. So all right. I had no idea.
Yeah. So cannabis.
Don't be smoking that devil's lettuce.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all gonna get messed up if you go near the devil and smoke on his lettuce, boy. You ain't never heard that? You must have heard that.
I don't often go to Croydon. No. Go on.
So we just thought it was a fun play on those
Yes,
words.
it's cute.
And it kind of stuck, and I needed to set a business up pretty much overnight. So I was like, oh, that'll do.
It's
and
quite
actually,
beautiful that you haven't chosen CBD something like
No,
everyone
it's-
else out
it's
there,
terrific.
or
Why not? It's
green
memorable.
something. Do you know what I mean? Like literally,
Yeah.
we were laughing about in the office today. There's probably, I think, 60,000 brands in the UK, all of which are green something or CBD
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And then when you type in the brand, you can't find it. Because
Yeah.
at the end of it, when you Google green, the first thing that's going to come up is not going to be your brand. When you Google CBD, the
It'll
first
be
thing that's going to
Philip.
come up is not going to be your brand.
No.
So yeah, it's just quite funny. So
How
carry on, Jade.
fantastic is this? So, what I love also is you've dragged in your mum and dad.
Yeah.
Did they at first think, "What the hell is this?" Or do they think, "This is great? Look what our
I
daughter's
think-
doing."
I think at first they were kind of just happy that I was still alive, and still around.
Alive, probably. Yes.
And I had this like harebrained idea that I was going to go and do this thing. And my dad, he's just my number one cheerleader. And he was like, okay, what do you need us to do? So it was pretty much from the get-go,
Nice.
just had their support, which was fantastic. So, ended up roping in the children in the early days, pack that box, put this sticker on there, do this, it was good fun, really enjoyed it. But, it's been a very interesting journey. And like Ollie said, we had a bit of a conversation about things yesterday, looking at the industry in its entirety and how things stand currently today. And it's, in some ways we've progressed, but in many ways we haven't. And it's unfortunate that a big chunk of time has passed and we still find ourselves in this weird mix of people not really understanding the plant, understanding CBD wellness, whole plant hemp extract. What does that mean? I still get phone calls from people saying, will I get arrested if I buy this? And it's so unfortunate that people still fear cannabinoid therapy when we're biochemically engineered to create cannabinoids ourselves, have receptors for them, so it makes sense to feed our endocannabinoid system because we want homeostasis. So it's a fantastic opportunity to just get your learn on, get the education out there by working collaboratively.
So we were talking about this as well in the office. You ever seen the film My Sister's Keeper?
No.
It's another one of these movies. So
Can you pick a
basically
film that we've heard of?
Fine. So basically,
Predator.
but all I'm
Think
saying is,
about
so it's almost like like the like cannabis plants in general, like as a whole, have been put on the planet as our life support system. There is so much in those plants that are produced by our bodies, and when our bodies can't produce them, you can get it from the plant. And it's almost like it's almost like God put humans on the planet and then put the plants there almost as gas stations to fuel humans.
Yes,
and it's like we
analogy.
haven't really triggered that. We haven't really realized that. And the thing is Jade deals mainly with CBD. CBD is an off-the-shelf legal product, and she still has that demonization to play with.
Because we don't know. Because in all honesty, when Ollie came along and proposed this program, and I thought, well, it's completely bonkers what we're giving.
It's going to last 3 weeks.
And I thought it would last 3 weeks, and then we'd all pack it in. This is week 65, and it's nominated for award in America and all sorts of things. And it's down to Ollie completely. But it's because
and the guests.
This seems to be one of the few educational forums. Me and education in the same sentence, blimey. But it's true, Jade. No, I'm not surprised your customers are saying, "Oh, am I going to get shoved in the pokey for this?" Because we don't know. We're not told.
No.
There is still a huge grey area. I have to ask before we get back onto your business, which I'm fascinated by. How is your health? Having gone through that story where I thought I was actually going to cry on air, which was slightly embarrassing. How's your health now?
It fluctuates. So I think the first sort of 2016 to 2018, what generally would happen is every third month-ish or so, I would end up, the usual routine, A&E, nasogastric tube, pulling sort of acids out of my stomach because things had stopped working, or there was a blockage, or there was something else. I've managed to avoid further surgeries, although there are potentially some on the cards. I'm currently suffering with I've got a most recent diagnosis, which has really frustrated me. It's called SIBO, SIBO, which is small intestine bacterial overgrowth, which basically means the valve at the end of the stomach and the entry to the small bowel isn't working properly. So, excuse me, so there's some bacteria that shouldn't be in my stomach that is actually in my stomach. And the reason why you can probably hear me burping, I do apologize, is that I've got this fermentation problem going on in my stomach now. So I can't digest food, I can't eat much. I'm on a liquid program at the moment. But I'm here. So, you just have to get that balance. I'm on really strong antibiotics, which bring their own side effects.
Sure.
But I pretty much just keep going, really, because if I sit and moan about it, then that's just boring and it's a waste of a day. So it's pointless. So I just crack on.
It's
but thank
incredible.
you for
God,
asking.
I mean,
Now, I've got
every now and then
we
we get guests on Men's Radio, and so often, you end up, and I close it down, and I feel about 1 inch tall. I feel like, what the hell? Who are these giants? Where do they come from? Does a UFO drop them off late at night? Because it just seem like superhuman. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, I'll be in the X-Men shortly, hopefully.
So what happens is, Ross, you don't realize it. So I've got a
hurt.
giant cannabis leaf, okay, with a light that shines at the sky. Now, every week,
Like the
a
Batman.
different
Like the
cannabis
Bat-
Batman shows up at my door. I was like, I want to do the show. Now, this light cost me about $5,000 to turn on a month. So I'm just really happy that the guests have been coming, but it's so worth it.
Are you growing stuff in the light as well? Let's just go up to Edinburgh very, very
That would
quickly.
be incredible. That's how
Veronica
I paid for the light, Russ. You're a genius. When I get arrested, it's your fault.
know. Up here for thinking, down there for dancing. I definitely find CBD, including terpenes, that really controls so much for me. Also with CBD, THC, and flower, but not in big quantity. That's Veronica, who's a big fan of Ollie's, I have to say.
Veronica's awesome.
Yes, she is.
She's really awesome.
So your health.
Go on, Russ.
I know we're here to talk about CBD, but I'm just so fascinated.
Listen, worst case scenario, we can talk for an hour. We could talk for this hour. I'll bring Jade back on next week. We can carry on the conversation about her business. As in, don't worry. As in, we've got hours to chat if we need it. There's hundreds more shows.
All right. I think, but so many people look at you and they think, why aren't I? Wow. I mean, just like, wow. That's what I got to say. So, are you?
She's living.
Do you think you've been given
she's a living truth of what cannabis can do? So I mean, it's
totally,
amazing.
Yeah, there's no argument about that. That's for sure. But mentally, with your mental health, do you think, right, I'm back, if you like, I'm back for a purpose, and this is my purpose. I'm going to help other people. Is that part of your wherewithal?
She's always helped other people. She's a social worker by trade. As her life has been helping people since she started.
But this is very extreme. What Jade? I'm sorry, we're talking like you're not here. But what Jade has gone through, embarrassing. What Jade has gone through is as extreme as you. I can't think of anything more. Really.
Yeah, but I do think that Jade is inherently a giver. And when you are inherently a giver, so for example, even when she, when she was talking about taking her own life, she's talking about how she wants to give her husband a real life. She's not talking about end my pain. She's like, you'll go out there, you'll find someone you'll have a good life. You don't need to suffer.
She said, you're handsome. You'll have,
you're handsome. You'll find someone new. She's a giver. She gives life to people.
I went at that point. That was it. I completely went at that point.
I think it's important to notice because in this world of ours, this beautiful world of ours, we have givers and we have takers. And some people who are givers can't help but give. And I'm not meaning to paint you with that brush. I don't know you well enough yet. But that's the vibe I get from you, because if not, I don't understand why you've done what you've done and how you've had the courage to help so many people. I just can't get my head around how you're not exhausted after that story.
Strength. It's not just it's the courage to continue, but it's the strength. I mean, it comes off you in waves. It's phenomenal.
I think when you've been laid in an intensive care bed with the inability to speak because you're tubed up, but you can see your family crying, and you know that you aren't far from departing. I had a very unusual experience, which I won't bore you with and go into. It was quite
No, go into
bizarre.
it. Do it. It's not boring. Nothing you say is boring.
Only
As
if
in,
Jade wants to. Don't force her down a road.
It was I was in intensive care after my final surgery from having my colon and gallbladder removed. What they'd forgotten to do was switch on the epidural. So I woke up
They
with
forgot to do
pain
it.
relief.
Look, what? Was there ever a case that you got one job to do, matey? Switch the epidural. How can you forget?
So
to do this?
I
Christ.
woke up from that surgery with no pain
Don't.
relief.
I don't want to hear any more. Please, I know exactly what
Okay.
you're going to say. Don't tell me
Okay.
anymore.
That's fine.
Jesus Christ.
were you smiling like you are now? Because if you were,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you. I'm just going to
if
throw
she
it
really
out
was
there.
dropped off by you.
I think there was lots of F's and Jeffs said at the time, but it was terrific. And it's kind of, you toy with the idea of, I actually do want to die because I can't tolerate this pain anymore. And my God, I can't do it. And then you flip out the other side and it's kind of, I don't know, there was a number of elements to it, really. It was, I didn't die. I can't waste my life. I've got to stop living in a bubble. I need to get out there and do things. Because one of the things that I uttered to Leslie when we thought I was dying was, I've never been to Glastonbury. And I was mortified.
You're missing very
been...
little, to be honest with you.
Oh, no, Russ, watch your mouth. Okay? Watch your mouth. Seriously.
Yeah.
Apologise. Apologise to Michael Eavis
apologising.
right now.
No, I'm not
okay?
apologising. No,
so
I think I'd rather have the epidural machine not on than sit through Kanye West.
First of all, Kanye played 1 year and he blew the stage out, okay? And just to throw it out there, Glastonbury is not about the music. It's about the energy of Glastonbury. Listen, it's a conversation for a different day. Russ, me and you have problems.
Very different, very different. But my husband, Leslie, managed to get tickets for the following year, which was just amazing in itself because, you know, they're like hen's teeth trying to get hold of them. But, you know, to be able to... Kindness is contagious. And you alluded to it earlier with, you know, paying it forward. Kindness is contagious. And whenever I've been in an incredibly difficult place, there has been somebody who's chosen to help me. They didn't have to, but they chose to help me. And when I was ringing people to try and get information about cannabinoids and CBD and was I going to get arrested because I was taking this stuff, I didn't have anybody really to speak to. And I thought I maybe should do that for other people. That's the social worker in me. That's, you know, I'm very driven by building community because the most successful revolutions come from a community cause. And if you can build a community that's positive and all aligned, then we have a stronger voice to decide and describe what we think these things should look like and what access we should have to things that feed the human body.
If
so those have been my
people
drivers.
Whisper, it sounds like a scream.
There we are.
Yeah.
And then the other practical part of it is I had 3 children, a husband. I take my responsibilities incredibly seriously and I have a right to provide for my children. So I had no option. I couldn't just sit on my arse and sulk. I had to put on my big girl pants and do something about it and develop some income for the family. So there was an underlying element of if I can just manage to pay the mortgage, then I've done my bit to contribute to the family.
You're amazing. I have a question for you to go back a little bit. What's your view of the traditional medical system in the UK? After going through all of this, like, how do you view it?
What do you mean by that, though? I mean, without traditional medicine, I wouldn't be here.
There you go.
Which, you know, and I think that personally, that integrated medicine should be a personal option and shouldn't be demonized or poo-pooed. I think that, you know, when traditional medicine, you know, God bless our NHS and the state it's in now, it's distressing to see. And just quickly, I mean, my most recent hospital admission, since I've moved from north to south, that was a scary experience. So that was November of last year. New hospital, new faces, new people. Everybody knows me up north because I was such a regular visitor. So I was on my own. It's COVID. Leslie couldn't stay with me. It was crowded. They didn't have my notes. I'm trying to tell them what I need. And it was terrifying. Quite literally terrifying. But, you know, they did everything they could to try and make me feel looked after, comfortable and safe. And, you know, massive love for that. What I don't agree with is that being the only option. And I think that we have a right to access and explore things that we wish to try to make ourselves feel better so we can get through the day.
So it's like this symbiotic relationship. You see it as the two need to work together. Amazing. Yeah, it's a very similar view to me, to be honest with you. I might sometimes be a bit harsh on the medical system, but I also, for my Tourette syndrome, I take cannabinoids, but I also take a pharmaceutical medicine, I have done since I was 7 years old. And every month my doctor asks me, are you ready to come off your medicine yet? You seem like you're doing really well. You ready to come off of it? And I'm always like, no, I'm freaking terrified to come off of it. Like the only sense of normality I know has that medicine involved in it. So I'm not against, the traditional medical system. I just think there needs to be more of I want to call it more of an acceptance for cannabis, but I don't see it as an either or. I see them as working and combining. It's something we spoke about yesterday as well on the phone. It's like, I just wanted other people to hear you say it. I already knew what the answer to the question was going to be, but I mean, it's something we spoke about. And I feel like that's one place where you are quite rare, because, a lot of, you could call it cannabis advocates and activists are very much anti the bigger system, this traditional system. And especially when people are most vulnerable, it's dangerous to kind of plant that seed. Like we're not, like we go that extra mile, but it's the extra mile. It's not the first 50 miles. It's not the entire journey. And it's important to understand that when it comes to cannabinoid medication, because right now you still take pharmaceuticals, right?
Yep. So I take a drug called clonazepam to manage my seizure activity, and
she has seizures too, Russ, as well. Like literally this. Yeah.
So
Sorry for laughing.
It's okay. We might as well laugh, because otherwise you'd just cry. So I started taking clonazepam when I was diagnosed with spinal myoclonus, which is a member of the epilepsy family. And then when was it? 2018, I had my first drop seizure. And it was the most terrifying experience I could really go through. I would say that it was more terrifying than lying in a bed thinking I was ready to depart, because I was at home. My daughter was upstairs wearing headphones. I collapsed in the kitchen. I smacked my head on the washing machine as I went down. And I just remember being in a state of, I need someone to help me, and I can't move because I was in this, I was in full seizure. So funnily enough, and it sounds like I'm telling a lie, I'm really not. We should have got it on a film. My dog helped me call an ambulance because I could move just my arm, and I dropped my phone and it was just there. And my dog was next to me and sort of like nudged me the phone, and I was like,
because
I'm
they
not
know.
even here.
No. You see, dogs know when you're not right, when you're not well. They know.
Yeah.
No ifs or buts. It's not even a debate.
I'm glad that Russ isn't a cat person. He already hates Glastonbury. If he hated dogs, I think I would literally get rid of him as a co-host. I'd be like, we're done, mate. So it's good you like dogs too, Russ. It's good.
Yeah.
I thought I could hear something strange in my headphones. I'm sort of wittering. Anyway, it was Ollie. Sorry. So
no, I still take clonazepam because I've been taking that for the best part of 11 years, and I've built receptors for that. I have tried. I once went through a period of, I can come off everything because I'm medicating in the day with CBD. I'm using medical cannabis on a night. I don't need that. Yes, I bloody do, because I'm in a bit of a mess. So I will always have to take clonazepam, and I'm okay with that today. But what I do is supplement my diet and my vitamin intake accordingly to try and give my body the best chance of it not hating me today.
See, one of the huge problems with the world is we're being forced to take a side in everything. In everything. We are divided as people. I don't think the world's ever been, well, apart from World War II, obviously, I'm not talking about that, but more divided politically, medically. It really doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you are forced to take a side.
Civil divides, I think, are worse now than they've ever been. And this whole concept of like this brother civil divide, as opposed to, let's say, strangers always used to think differently. But this whole idea of best friends falling out, it happens a lot in today's world.
Of course, and that's how you end up with that's how you end up with civil war, which is my theory. But anyway, that's not the point. The problem really comes to crisis point when there is no middle ground, when
Yeah.
either side of the whatever the argument or debate, there's no, you can't agree on anything, and then you've got a massive problem. And all through the series of the ABC of CBD, we've had some of guests on in the past who are like, very, very adamant that everything to do with pharmaceuticals is the devil's work, and cannabis is the answer to everything. It's not, but there is a middle ground. And
Yeah.
you have so eloquently and articulately said, look, I use a combination. And the
Yeah.
very fact you said, if I hadn't had traditional medicine, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
To be blunt, of course. And this gets me upset when people say, oh, they're only in it for the money and this. It's not that.
So
But there
somebody
is a
once,
middle ground like you.
yeah.
There's a
What
lot of
somebody once
truth in
said to
Jay's
me,
journey, though, as well, which is a lot of truth in what she's experienced. And, people looking at it from a different angle, have their, you could call it mental predispositions, as opposed to Jay's actually lived a reality. It's very truthful. It's very transparent. It's not an opinion. It's a fact,
No, yes, that's beautifully put. It's not an opinion. You've lived it. You've had
Yeah.
an extreme situation. I can't think of anything more extreme.
Told
How
you
the
I'm on
hell-
better form today, Russ.
I'll be the judge of that, Mammon. Anyway, so yes, it was. He was a bit down in the dumps last week. I don't know. He was a bit miz.
Mental health
And,
issues, you can't really do much about that. They choose to kick you in the teeth, you just got to say,
here
okay.
we go. Pull out the pity party. Anyway, so the thing is that you've been extraordinary. Just quite extraordinary. So you've got this savage cabbage, and
Yeah.
how many? I'm going to call. Can I call them customers? I don't want to cause offence.
Yes,
I don't know.
please
Call
do.
them clients or friends or whatever you want to call them.
Customers.
But customers. Are you saying 9,000 who come to you?
Yes,
Wowza.
we've got a list of about 9,000, which spreads over 44 countries.
Fantastic.
It's 9,000.
And are you still getting mum and dad to
insane.
wrap up the present? I think presents, the packages.
My mum and dad are still involved in the business, but we've grown a bit since then. So they're still involved, but not doing the tea runs.
I had
and things
visions
like
of
that.
your poor kids like Oliver Twist, 30,000 boxes and that. Please.
See, I thought you imagined she was Santa Claus and her parents and her kids were elves, packing the presents for Christmas, like that's what we're thinking. Like, Russ, come on, mate. Smoking too much of that vape pen I sent you.
How much, which I haven't been sent, how many staff do you have? I'm just thrilled. You've gone from
we're a really small team. We're a really small team. We're about 6. There's about 6 of us at the moment. We're looking to develop. I've got some new business activities with Charlotte's Web. So we're in the process of growth at the moment, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And you've just been named brand ambassador, haven't you? Like a European brand ambassador for them, which is incredible.
Whoa,
global.
Sorry.
Ambassador.
Whoa, Ollie.
There you go, Oliver.
Ollie, stop it.
Global brand ambassador for Charlotte's Web. Wowza.
Yes.
Well, I'll be honest, after your journey, I mean, like it's insane for them not to. I mean, it's such a great story.
I mean, it does sound like I'm blowing smoke up your posterior, but I'm not. I couldn't think of anybody more worthy, having been in advertising forever. Some of these brand ambassadors, you think, well, that's pretty bloody tenuous. But you, my goodness me, they're lucky to have you, if I may say so. You're exemplary. I've kind of run out of superlatives, really, which is rare for me. But wow.
Question, Jay.
What a story.
How long did it take you to find your balance? So this balance of medication, this balance of between pharmaceutical and cannabinoid, how long did it take you to find this balance?
I would probably longer than you'd think. I mean, what I did was, like lots of people do, was I have the answer. Everything that I need is in this bottle. I'll just stop taking all of that. And I did that very quickly and then put myself in the right spot and ended up in hospital with problems. And I was like, okay, lesson learned, don't do that. And I guess that I've sort of structured it now to find my sweet spot with CBD, to find the right strain of medical cannabis, to include my pharmaceutical medications that I need to take. I'm still learning, but I guess after about 2 years, is where I kind of settled with it. Well, actually, I think I know what I need, and I think this means that. I did get my medical cannabis prescription in, when was that? 2000 and I don't know. The COVID years have messed up my memory, so I don't know.
Everybody's, not just
Everyone.
you. Everybody, no one
I
knows.
think-
I think it's 1965, and I'm about to see the Beatles. Again. I
I
have no
think
idea what's going on.
my friend Dr. Kelly Seaman, she'd ordered a medical cannabis prescription, and I did mine around the same time.
We've got to stop. I'm so sorry. I
Okay.
hate it. We're completely out of time. We're going to talk for another.
I've got a question.
2
Do you want
hours.
to come back next week, carry on this conversation? Is that possible?
Possibly.
Or maybe
I'm
or like in a few weeks' time when you're free?
Yeah, I'm in
I
the States
don't think
next
this is
week,
over.
so-
I don't think this is over. I think we need a part 2.
No, we
Okay,
do need a
that's
part
fine.
2.
I
We
can
need
do that.
part 2. Step Up the musical. Jade, thank you so much.
Incredible.
You are an amazing human being. You
Thank
really
you
are.
very much.
Ollie, where you find these amazing people from, God only knows, but bless you for doing so.
An hour's not
You're-
enough.
And not today, it ain't. The
Not
ABC
today.
of CBD brought to you with Ollie Mammon. And thank you so much. We'll be back 6 o'clock, same time next week. Until then, try and stay out of trouble.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.